Welcome to the channel and my unbox and review for Razer's Raion Fightpad for PlayStation 4 and PC. Now this is a wired controller. There is no battery in this controller at all, so you constantly always have it connected to a wire. The reason for that is it's a competition based controller for players who like their beat 'em up games. So basically if you're a Street Fighter fan or a Mortal Kombat fan, King of Fighters, this is something that might very well interest you, as it did me. I am a massive fan of fighting games. If you look at my channel, you'll see my beat 'em up basement playlist. Quite a lot of action in there, that I've been doing over the last 3-4 years. But beat 'em ups are one of my core genres that I love. Now, when I saw this, a few months back, I was desperate to get hold of one, but didn't have the cash at the time. So I've been saving my pennies so that I could buy one of these and review it on the channel, which is exactly what I've done. So this is a self-funded review. So first off, I thought we'd start with the unbox as usual, and then obviously I'll go into detail about my actual review and testing of the controller. So first up, I need to cut the seal underneath here. So here's a pair of scissors I prepared earlier. I am well trained in the art of scissory, so be careful when you're using scissors at home. I've been doing it for years. Buy way too many products. I always having to open them with a pair of scissors. So this is the Razer Raion PlayStation 4 and PC Fightpad. Looks pretty awesome. Really like that finish. And what we've got in here first, obviously, our instruction manual, including our warranty information. You get a year warranty with this, so 12 months. And we've also got some Razer emblem stickers in here for you to use and stick to or adorn something that you love. Alternatively, you can leave them in the manual like I do, because obviously I collect these things, so I like to keep them complete. And then we've got a very well illustrated manual which explains the product, how to use it and what the buttons do and stuff. And then last and definitely not least, the most important part of the puzzle, the Razer Raion itself. A little slit in the packaging there just to pull the cable through. So I'll put that a little bit further out of shot because we want to focus on the controller, not the box and the manual. So this is the Raion. It's actually really light, as I would have expected, given that obviously there is no charge or battery in this controller. And we don't have analogs either, so considerable loss in weight. It's quite a nice feeling controller. Weight's okay, very light, very smooth, clicky feeling D-pad here. That feels lovely. I think that is going to be a treat in beat 'em up games. The buttons feel amazing as well. We've got a lockout button there you can see on the top. That actually, you can lock out things like the share option and the start button, so that when you're playing a fighting game, you're getting into it, you don't accidentally hit a share button or something, because obviously that stalls the game. So there is a lockout for that. You've also got mute and volume control, which you can see on top there as well. Pressing those together will induce the controller lockout for share and start buttons, so that you can't accidentally hit those in a fight. Pressing them independently will either mute your mic or turn up the volume. So this is our cable, standard cable, quite thick, quite nice quality, with obviously USB connection, well covered for the shipment. And yeah, it's a really nice controller. You do have some slight gripping on the rear of the controller on the handles, feels quite nice. So I'm going to put this thing to test now in a variety of games, and I'll be back soon. So what I thought I'd do is do a close-up of me using the controller, and then that way you can hear the tactile D-pad and the buttons in action. Some people obviously don't like certain sounds when they're playing games, it puts them off. I know a few people like that. Me personally, it doesn't bother me. As long as I've got a controller that's doing its job and doing it very well, I'm a happy chappy. Now this feels absolutely amazing. This is me doing hard mode Street Fighter 5 in the challenge mode, and I'm finding it really easy to pull off moves, and I'm actually slaughtering the AI in hard mode, which I'm generally not bad at playing. I haven't played a massive amount of Street Fighter 5 in general, to be honest, so I'm still a bit of a noob at it, if you like, in terms of that actual game and its mechanics. But obviously I've been playing Street Fighter, most of my gaming life, or at least since the 90s, early 90s, and I'm not half bad as a Street Fighter player. So I'm finding this really easy to pull off moves and demolish hard AI. I'm doing it on average in 15 to 20 seconds at the moment with Ryu, who's my main. I have tested some other characters with the controller as well, and I found it very, very responsive. I was also going through some of the challenge modes where you do the combos and you pull the combos off in sequence. I actually got through a few more of those really easy, whereas on the standard controller I was having a bit of a nightmare with it because I just wasn't able to get the kind of flick on the D-pad that I needed quick enough in sequence with some of the buttons. I could do it eventually, but it was a lot of work. With this, I've just gone in and done something I was trying to do, for like 20 minutes. I've just done it instantly, and it's just so much easier to use this fight pad, and it really, is down to the D-pad just being so good. Obviously the buttons are very responsive as well, including the RBLBs feel really nice. You do have also lockouts for the modes and how you use the D-pad. You can switch it into analog, right analog, left analog mode. Not sure why you'd want to do that personally. I've left it set to default, and I'm playing it with the D-pad because that's how I play anyway. But you can also change the configuration of buttons. So for instance, if you need L3 and R3 clicking buttons, you can actually put a setting on the controller to allow for that, so it'll move those buttons into certain positions on the controller, so you've got them as well should you need them. I can't think of any examples where I would at the moment, but the feature is there for you to use if you want to do it. So I did 10 hours testing across Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5, Tekken 7, Injustice 2, Mortal Kombat X, and King of Fighters. And I chose King of Fighters because it was a game I never really got on with after buying it. I kind of bought it, played it, maybe an hour or so, and kind of got fed up with it because I was having problems with the button layout. I jumped back into it with the Raion, and I was actually starting to play it a little bit more fluidly, so the Raion's definitely helping me out with King of Fighters, and I think that's because of its very Japanese orientated fighting style. Street Fighter is definitely where this controller comes into its own. The layout suits it perfectly, and I'm just able to do so much more with the Raion in Street Fighter now than I've ever been able to do. I'm not going to be winning any tournaments anytime soon, but I'm definitely playing a hell of a lot better than I ever have been. Mortal Kombat, Injustice 2, and the other games I played, suited the controller well. It's more of a logic issue from my perspective, in terms of using the controller with those games. I was having a few problems getting my buttons mixed up, and I think that was more to do with how I'm managing the controller as opposed to a product problem. The issue's me, not the product. So other important information you need to know about the Raion is, yes, there is a 3.5mm jack for your headset to insert into. You can see that directly underneath the lockout button and the mute button on the left and the volume button on the right, which are obviously relevant once you connect your headset to the controller. You do not get speaker sounds from the controller at all. There is no speaker in this controller like a generic PS4 DualShock. The PlayStation button will only work for logging yourself into a profile. It will not work to power on your console when this controller is connected. There is no battery in this controller, as I said earlier in the review, so literally you power on the console with your DualShock controller or whatever controller you're using, and then with this connected to the USB, use the PlayStation button to log in your profile and play your beat 'em up games. However, you can use the PS button to turn off your console. The last thing I did in preparation for my review was actually take some snapshots of the Razer Raion in conjunction with a generic PlayStation 4 DualShock controller. As you can see in the image here, the DualShock controller is the one in the red skull skin, obviously the Razer Raion above. Now, in terms of form factor, there are differences. which is a lot more apparent in this picture. You can clearly see here that the Razer Raion is a good ½ an inch taller than your generic PlayStation 4 DualShock controller. Now that obviously means, yes, there is a size difference. If you put them on top of each other like so, it doesn't look like there's much of a difference, but there is. The grips on either side of the controller on a PlayStation 4 DualShock are slightly thinner than the Raion, because the Raion starts thinner at the bottom but slowly gets wider as it moves up the controller body. And here you can see very clearly the difference in controller size. So the Raion is that little bit larger, so if you quite like your DualShock's form factor and its size, and you're thinking about getting the Raion, you need to bear in mind that it is actually fractionally larger as controllers go. So having spent 10 hours with the Razer Raion Fightpad for PlayStation 4 and PC, I am happy to give it a score of 10 out of 10. This product screams quality from the minute you take it out of the box to the minute you put it in your hands and start beasting out Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Injustice 2 and a variety of other fighting goodies. Absolutely amazing controller this. It really has helped my playstyle and I completely love it to bits. If you're into beat 'em ups, you could do a lot worse than buy this controller. If you enjoyed the video, maybe drop me a like, maybe subscribe. Thanks for watching, take care, keep well, most importantly, come back soon.